Welcome to the Day There Jews. I'm Izzy.
I'm Raka. Welcome all. Welcome back. Hello, Dead Air Nation.
Hello, dads out there. Today we're starting a new series. We call it Bad Juju. It encompasses everything within the paranormal and everything that we believe in and that we've researched and all kinds of stuff from ghosts to demons, demonology, to cryptology, to crypto, to all that good stuff. And so today we are starting with Raka. Did everybody know?
Exorcisms and demonic possession.
Exactly. So everybody, grab your popcorn, grab your
crucifixes, your rosary beads, your holy water, your cat, your favorite blankie.
Grab your favorite.
We're gonna dive deep, people. It's gonna get heavy. It's gonna get dark in here. So make sure you have your lighters and your phones are charged. And let's get to it.
Let's get to it. Want to start off, or should I?
Let's touch off things by saying this, by and large, has been associated with the Catholic Church.
Yes.
Mainly because the Catholic Church has been probably the most active religious organization that does not deny it. In a small, indirect way, promotes it. And maybe promote is the wrong word. They do not deny the existence of it, the practice of it, and the like. However, in the history of the world, in all religions, obviously you cannot compare and contrast. Not every religion believes in a heaven, a hell, a Satan, a God, a fallen angel. But every religion does differentiate between bad spirit, a good spirit.
Oh, definitely.
And some people have neutral spirits, such as ancestors, such as, the creator, Mother Nature, you name it. So in different religions throughout the history of the world, there have been, I guess, victims of some kind of demonic possession or some kind of spiritual possession. We'll leave it at that. For example, in ancient Mesopotamia, there have been practices in ancient Persia. There's been practices of similar expelling of the spirit that occupies the body.
Yeah. In ancient times, the local exorcist was both a priest and a doctor. They were the intermediaries between the victims and the divine and had an arsenal of weapons to combat evil spirits. Again, that's taken from the perspective of, the Catholic Church. Of course, every religion, every culture also had their own. It's not just, only with the Catholic Church, only with Catholicism and Christianity and everything.
No, look, for example, in the Hindu religion, one of their holy books is called the Vedas. In the Vedas, written about 1000 BC, so roughly 1,000 years before the Christ event, there's mention of demons, evil beings that got in the way of good beings to harm people. In certain exorcism traditions, holy names are read out loud while reading specific chapters from these books. And this would be done in an attempt to release the person from demonic or ghostly possession, both mentally and physically. Now, granted, it's been acknowledged by many governing bodies, religious organizations, and the psychiatric practice that by and large, and I'm talking about a huge percentage, somewhere in the 90s, these present day quote unquote demonic possessions can be attributed to mental illness in some form.
Yes, I have heard that obviously.
So,
Many movies.
so
Many.
there is right. There is some process first in today's times where you have to first discredit that as the origin of odd behavior. Let's leave it that way. The most underwhelming description I can give. But in instances where it is not identified as a source, and there are actions that take place that have no psychological, physiological answer.
Right.
So it's objects moving around, perfectly spoken Latin and other languages, body temperatures, levitation, unexplained contortions, extreme heat and cold, temperature changes and fluctuations. There are some manifestations that cannot be explained on a physical plane, and that's by and large where the voodoo doctor or the exorcist specialist is called in to do their good. So, backtracking now to the Catholic religion. Exorcism is described in the Catholic Encyclopedia as the act of driving out or warding off demons or evil spirits from persons, places, or things which are believed to be possessed or infested by them, or are liable to become victims or instruments of their malice. I mean, this is from the Catholic Encyclopedia. So right there, they acknowledge this is a real thing that, although rare, occurs. I will read for you now a specific form of a prayer. Say again?
According to some,
yeah. Well, there are certain prayers that are said, that are uttered over and over again repeatedly. And it really, really, I guess, boils down to the will and faith of the person proctoring the exorcism to stand up against he, she, or it that possesses said subject, said victim.
right.
There are many instances where the actual exorcist asks, how many are you? So it may not, and there are instances where the response is, we are many. So it is not a one-to-one. This is not a formulaic thing. There are times and instances where, I know this is getting really deep, people. The answer is in such a groggy, alternate voice, we are many. Yeah, I didn't mean to go Batman on you. But I mean, this is getting on a freakier level. You know, there are moments then where I guess the church has found it prudent to invite a non-priest, a layperson, to come along, to ride along, to participate in the actual
ride along when you're riding along, on a certain, event or whatever.
Well, even I assume then, even the Catholic Church itself, who's in the business of professional exorcism, they want 100% validation that they are not going to incur any bodily harm onto the individual they're trying to help, and also to maybe calm or clear the air with family members, loved ones, whatever, that they're not doing this hocus pocus magic trick. You know, some parlor tricks are going on, or they're staging some kind of show. So there is this individual who has come along on many, many, many occasions. He's a layperson. He's not a priest. He is a Catholic, but he has come along to debunk or actually credentialize the exorcism. This person is Dr. Richard Gallagher. He's an Ivy League educated, board certified psychiatrist. He teaches at Columbia University and New York Medical College. He is part of a team that has been called in on occasion to participate in exorcisms, mainly to really evaluate that this is not a mental illness extreme event or illness that is taken over. And then the priest can do their bidding. I guess there's a balance of how you proceed in the therapeutics of it all. And so Dr. Richard Gallagher has come along on many, many occasions to add input, oversight, evaluation of the patient to see whether there is an underlying mental illness component. Now, the priest may still continue and conduct their prayers and procedures kind of like a placebo effect. It may convince said patient, this is the cure. We're going to drive out the demons. You're going to be okay. And then Dr. Gallagher and said team will take over from there. And as he has stated many times, many, many times, the evidence is overwhelmingly a psychological issue at play. However, there are instances he has testified, and he has testified all without a doubt, there is no medical answers for things he has witnessed. For example.
So would you say that all types of possession are demonic, or it could be something?
He says, by and large, it's a small minority of instances that are unexplained by medicine. And he has no alternative answer for it than it being some kind of paranormal event. He has witnessed victims suddenly speaking perfect Latin, sacred objects flying off shelves, people displaying hidden knowledge or secrets about the people who are conducting the exorcism, and even about himself that no one else would know. And that individual in treatment starts blurting it out, trying to now go on the offensive of psychological warfare against the people who are performing the exorcism. There was a woman once, and this is a quote, who was like 90 pounds soaking wet. She threw a Lutheran deacon who was about 200 pounds across the room.
It's a big boy.
And he says, yes, he says, that's not psychiatry. That's beyond psychiatry. Okay. He credits at least 90% of the cases to be, by and large, a psychological origin. But that 110% freaks the bejesus out of you when you don't have an answer in both science and physics as to what these individuals display.
All right. Official Catholic doctrine affirmed that demonic possession can occur as distinguished from mental illness, but stresses that cases of mental illness should not be misdiagnosed as demonic influence. Catholic exorcisms can occur only on the authority of a bishop and in accordance with strict rules. Now this one, I'm not sure if you knew this one. A simple exorcism can also occur during baptism.
Yes. Well, that's the concept of original sin. Wow. And for all those non-Catholics out there, since Adam and Eve were cast out of the Garden of Eden, all of us are born with original sin, meaning we're not of the grace of God. And this is the main reason why your child is baptized, so that you can exorcise the demons who occupy those with original sin, and you are brought into the Catholic faith or faith of a belief in God and the one God and blah, blah, yada, 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 yada. So, yes, there are embedded in almost every prayer and almost every sacrament, there are embedded those exercising prayers.
Right.
Now, that opens a whole sector of society that are not baptized, that are not Catholic, that are non-believers. Are we to all believe that they are possessed by a demon, or they have less immunity to
being possessed by said demon or demons or legion or whatever it is you want to say? Which, look, we're not here to knock any individual religion or any individual, culture or whatever. I mean, we're just here to, spread the information that we have, and you guys make your own decisions and make your own.
Well, some have speculated in the past the church has pimped the exorcist subculture because it's not without documentation that they would receive payment of some sort if they healed someone who was possessed or whatever. It should be no shock to everybody. It's one of the oldest scams running out there.
Well, then that leads to, there's been, several, more than one, quote-unquote, famous exorcist who has...
Oh, yeah, we want to get to that now. We want to get to the case of the...
No, we can finish up here, and and then we'll definitely get to him.
To Annalisa? All right. Well, okay. The Vatican first, we started on the church, so let's just finish this off. The Vatican first issued official guidelines on exorcism in 1614. And surprisingly enough, very curious enough, this was revised in 1999. So in recent times, why do you feel the need to revise a nearly 400, almost 500-year-old doctrine? According to the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, signs of demonic possession include superhuman strength, aversion to holy water, the ability to speak in unknown languages, other potential signs of demonic possession, including spitting, cursing, and excessive masturbation. Ooh, that's a lot of you out there listening right now. You in trouble? Go get your holy water.
This are hidden that the victim cannot know, blasphemous rage, obscene hand gestures, using profanity, and an aversion to holy symbols and names, relics, or places.
So, yes, does it boil down to faith? Does it boil down to an actual possession? Does it boil down to requirement of a priest or someone of strong spiritual character to relieve you of being occupied by a demon?
Well, you just can't say, oh, by the way, you know what, I'm possessed, the person's possessed. Let's just, get it done. There are certain measures you need to do. You can't just, the priest will have to go to a higher up and they'll have to bring forward to them a specific instance and show them proof, and which in turn it would have to go up and would have to agree that this is the last course of action, to save their soul, quote unquote. And then, only then, will the bishop say, do what you got to do, and then, which I've also researched that there's two types of possession. You have your cerebral possession and you have your peripheral possession. Okay?
And the distinction is?
Well, the cerebral possession is a religious possession where essentially, I guess we would compare it to the movie The Exorcist when they possess the priest, as opposed to the person. Why go from while the peripheral would be, it's the invasion of evil spirits, executive or pathogenic, where you have, and that breaks into two other things. We have complete possession, and then you have the pathogenic, which causes harm towards the person or causes harm towards people. And yeah, it's, you know.
I mean, what we can really go upon, since there hasn't been, and for what reason I don't know, but there hasn't been live recordings or just recordings in general of a lot of these possessions, unless the Vatican has stored them away somewhere, in the Great Vault. But we go on accounts.
Yeah, so
again,
hidden in there that we could do 100 episodes on that. You know what I mean? That they haven't told, they haven't shown us, and they never will show us. So, it is what it is there. But we need to also give us a couple of famous events, of famous stories that we don't know or we do know. We could talk about one of the famous, more famous exorcists of the century so far.
Are you referring to the movie based on the exorcism of Emily Rose?
That's one of the more famous ones we've seen, yes.
Yeah, so the real name of that person, I believe, is Annalisa. Am I correct? Just bear with me. Sorry, I have it here somewhere.
That's what I verified. Go with that.
So apparently, as the story goes, without getting in, I'm not going to get into much of the minutia of it, but as the story goes, and many people are familiar with it, she and her family was concerned that she was possessed, and they begged for an exorcism, and the priest involved were really matched up hard. It was a grueling, long, exhaustive experience, and in the end, tragically, she dies. And so they hope that they excised the demon before possession of the soul.
Spoiler alert. Yes.
But then I believe the priest involved with the exorcism were on trial for murder.
Annalise Michelle. She was.
And this was a long time ago, fellas. This was, correct me for the dates, in the 1960s?
Yeah, this was, I do believe this was 1975, actually.
1975, okay. And so there is that.
And Michelle was a German woman who underwent an exorcism rites during the year before her death. She was diagnosed with epileptic psychosis, temporal lobe epilepsy, had a history of psychiatric treatment, which was overall not effective. Yada yada. We go on. Our friend was convinced that he was possessed by a demon. As a result, her family appealed to the Catholic Church for an exorcism. While rejected at first, after much hesitation, two priests got permission from a local bishop in 1975. The priest began conducting exorcism sessions, and the parents stopped consulting doctors. Annalise Michelle stopped eating food and died due to malnutrition, dehydration after 67 exorcism sessions.
67.
What in the blue hell? Michelle's parents and the two Roman Catholic priests were found guilty of negligent homicide and were sentenced to 6 months in jail, reduced from 3 years due to probation as well as a fine. Okay. 67.
Know when to say when, people.
Wow. Now, oh my gosh. That's, wow.
Well, okay, let's stop there and think about it. You're in 1970s Germany, or hell, 1970s anywhere in the world.
Right.
Technology is moving fast. There's a lot of things going on. The world is a smaller place to live, and you have a child who is exhibiting, it's an understatement, severe understatement to say odd behavior, right? Let's say psychiatry, medication, doctors, friends,
Oh, but you know what's crazy?
Ouija board, stuffed animals, everything does not work. And you reach out to the Catholic Church, and then they investigate, and we don't know if they botched it up. Do they know what they're doing? Should have they called in for more help? But once you hit double-digit sessions without any kind of progress, it, to me, becomes pure negligence and incompetency to just keep doing the same thing. You're berating this poor individual. Let's say it really wasn't demonic possession, and let's say it was a mental issue. Now you're compounding every failed session with another one and another one, to the point that if you had doubts before, now you're wholeheartedly vested that you are possessed, and maybe fatalistically speaking, you don't see a way out.
I've never seen the movie. Truth be told, I mean, I know of the movie. I just, whatever, haven't, looking deeper into the story, the fact. And again, I'm not trying to say anything about the faith or whatever. The fact that they were really super religious. Do you think that had an issue that basically drove them to do this and essentially kill her? I mean,
like a
they were,
self-fulfilling prophecy.
yeah, if they weren't so freaking super religious, they could have really helped her. Maybe she was just had a mental illness, and it wasn't a so-called, I mean,
Unfortunately, yes.
Used to go to mass twice a week. Used to go to mass. Okay, they're Roman Catholic family, brought up with 3 sisters and their parents, religious, and went to mass twice a week. I mean, it's crazy. And you keep reading what went on. And it's just insane that no one did anything before this. It was just.
It is a crime against her that once you get to a certain point and none of that was working, you gotta call it and maybe call for higher power help. It's the same thing. You gotta get your supervisor in here. Hell, drop a line to Rome.
Time out, and
yeah, but get a little expert in here and like, hey, Father Bob, not really working here. Her head's still spinning a mile a minute here. She's now speaking in Babylonian, text. I mean,
40 something maybe. So you know what? Maybe I don't think it's working. I mean,
call it a hunch. I don't know. She's dead.
Times. I mean, holy shit. I mean, that's just. All right. Well, I mean, actually, someone showed.
Okay, so we've touched on a movie. Let's touch on another movie. The Right.
The Right. Another movie that I might have seen pieces of it, but it's based on a true story as well.
So it's based on the life of Father Gary Thomas, who has been performing exorcisms more than a decade, working out of the Archdiocese of San Jose. His initial exorcism studies at the Vatican inspired the Right because
of demonic activity.
Right, because he had to obviously go to Rome to study. There's a crash course in exorcisms, believe it or not. And in the years since going to Rome and studying, he has handled over 60 cases of demonic activity. He has stated that although there are some truth underlying into the Hollywood movie, people need to know what he does, what they do, that this is a real thing. Now, himself and a few other prominent priests, bishops, and exorcists have come out to criticize the present day world as we live in now, that there are many more openings for people to lose their faith, to lose their way, and be lured into paganism and hence possible possession. I find that a bit of a stretch.
That's bro. I'm just reading up on this stuff. It's just, oof.
Father Thomas? So,
I mean,
again, you can, in 22 years that he's been a priest, he has done hundreds and hundreds of exorcism. Now,
it's based on a book, The Making of Modern Exorcists by Rome-based Matt Baglio, which was published in 2009. To research the book, Baglio participated in a seminar, yada yada, and then he researched the whole thing with Gary Thomas. And it's just
right. And so what Gary Thomas says, in today's world, there's all sorts of paganism. People using Ouija boards, which is conjuring instrument, not a toy. Tarot cards, seeking palm readers, seeking mediums, seeking out a witch, performing seances, getting involved in meditations, using yoga as a form of power, which, okay, now we're really stretching here, and those other variety of smatterings. It is no secret that our society is hungering for spirituality. The problem is where people are seeking it. It's all in the wrong place. Now, again, of course, he's going to toot the horn of the Catholic Church because that is where he wishes for you to direct your spiritual seeking self. Sidebar, I totally believe that you do not have to be a religious zealot of any sort to be a good person and to have a cleansed soul. Yeah. I believe that the more you actually concurrent to his teaching a little bit, the more that you release yourself from objects and materialism, the better off, straighten path, narrow roll through. It will incur better things for you and cleanse your mind and hopefully your soul. So he goes pretty strong overboard into warning people that paganism is an opening towards.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, but that's a topic for another day. That, you know, the merits of different religions and whatever. It's just you can't. Every person in this world who believes in something, they can't be wrong in the sense that, okay, fine. If you're telling me that Catholicism, Christianity is something, is what is real, and everything else is false, how would a person in Timbuktu or in Antarctica know that if they're not, you know,
they're not really affiliated with it?
How are you Roman Catholic? Because from birth, your parents and then, you know, taught you, and then we went to school and you continue to study. Now, someone who is not, doesn't have the availability to study different, you know, so how would they know? So then you're telling me that person in Timbuktu, in Antarctica, or in a hut somewhere in some country, how would they know? So they're wrong and they're doomed to, you know, a fiery hell. It's just, I don't know. It's too much. That being said,
in October 2000, it was reported that another famous exorcist, Father Gabriel Amorth, who passed away in 2016, had performed over 50,000 exorcisms, which range from a few minutes to several hours.
You can call them the exorcist to the stars. No, well, Basically,
It
he was the Vatican's hitman against exorcism for the last 60
is
years.
50,000 exorcisms.
Yes.
In March 2010, he said that the number had increased to 70,000.
Yeah.
So in that 10-year span, he tacked on another 20,000 exorcisms. Boy, he's working overtime. I hope he gets compensated. He had said that he had performed over 160,000 exorcisms in the course of his ministry.
They made a calculation and said that it was essentially he did 300 a year, which is insane.
And he goes on to say that each exorcism does not represent a victim of possession, but rather each exorcism is counted as a prayer or ritual alone. And some possession victims require hundreds of exorcisms. He said twice he witnessed a person levitate.
Yep, that he did.
We tried to keep the person in an armchair, but the demons just did it to show it off.
He attributed the exorcism going up to loss of faith, superstition, magic, Satanism, or Ouija boards, which opens the doors to the presence of demons. Okay. And everybody throw away your Ouija boards because, you know.
Yeah, that kind of creeped me out anyway. He goes on to say that, unlike the speedy rituals shown in movies, real exorcisms are more of a slow burn, often involving years of repeated rites before the big cleanse. Whew.
He also knocked the new version of the exorcism. He called it a farce. It forbids exorcism on people who have been reportedly subjected to evil spells. The new rite, quote unquote, a blunt weapon, efficacious prayers that have been in existence for 12 centuries, were suppressed and replaced by new, ineffective prayers. End of quote.
But even someone of his caliber, the big daddy of exorcists, claims that only about 94 of his 30,000 exorcisms, 94 out of 30,000, that is a minuscule percentile, represented full-blown possession. That would have required roughly one case a month to be thoroughly examined, processed over 9 years. I mean, it is a relatively number, but still, there are 94 cases that he has witnessed were, quote unquote, full blown. I mean, that's probably everything you can imagine from the movie Exorcist then up, which let's stop there and consider. You're in a room and shit gets fucking batty. Head spinning, vomiting, different languages, crucifixes burning, breaking.
Pea soup everywhere, yeah.
Smell, every sense on fire. Tell me you're not going to pee and piss yourself silly.
Of course.
I mean, all you need is one, right? All you need is one legit happening, and you're.
It's what they don't know and what they don't understand, and this is something that we've all been conditioned, especially if you're religious or if you were raised in the religious faith, whatever religion is, Judean, Christian, Jewish, whatever. I mean, Mesopotamian, all that good stuff. If you're brought up and some of this happens, there's no, of course you're going to believe. You're going to be like, damn, maybe this is some crazy shit. This could be legitimate, Hey, the phrase, speaking in tongues.
Okay. Yes. So we've covered a whole battery of eyewitness accounts of skeptics, priests, professional exorcists, the big daddy of exorcisms.
Which I wish it would have researched it more. I saw it in a show the other day. where it was this mother, and she had a couple kids, and the kids were possessed, and she had gone and tried to get help and whatever, and she couldn't. And she went to this priest, and I guess he believed her. So then they got permission for an exorcism. And the funny thing was that she was possessed, and once she was freed, everything else, fell into place. But the funny thing is that when it was going on in the hospital, there's records of the fact that hospital officials saw her walk on the walls. And it's literally like there's official record of her walking on walls.
Spider-Man?
Pretty much Spider-Man. Spider-Woman. Spider-Girl.
So there's enough accounts, right? I guess we can establish that even although minuscule in percentage, all you need is one, right?
Yes.
So it exists. Now, I think there's a positive conclusion to extrapolate from all of this.
Which is?
Is that, well, there's no statistical number here, but I don't know how many of these 90,000 exorcisms, 160,000 exorcisms, or the 94 hardcore real exorcisms, it didn't mention anyone like an astronomical fatality here.
Except for Annalise Michelle.
Okay, again, 1 out of 100,000 a minute.
That's what we know of that became famous enough that they made a movie out of it.
Right. However, again, 64.
So you mean
was it real?
70,000 freaking and of those 64, how many died? You're never gonna know that.
You're never gonna know, but what was mentioned, which is the positive spin on all this, and I'm not saying it's an effective cure,
right?
But what was mentioned is there's quite a number successes, a huge, if even percentage-wise, huge number of successes as far as I expelled the demon, they continue to live on. I don't know what kind of lives they live, but you were able to expel the demon.
You know what it reminds me of? I'm sorry to ask. You ever seen the movie Just Like Heaven?
I might have.
Romantic comedy with Mark Ruffalo and Reese Witherspoon. She gets hit by a truck and she dies, but she's not really dead. She's stuck in limbo in her body, whatever. But she's a ghost, and he rents her house. Long story short, so he sees her, but only he can see her. So he thinks she's dead. So he brings a bunch of different, mediums and Ghostbusters to come in, whatever. And then there's these 3 dudes come in. They're like, oh, I think we got him. And they put a plate and they put a cover on the plate. We got him. We're gonna go flush him right now. That's exactly what when you said that. It's exactly what I thought was like some dude just grabbing something out of the air. Oh, we got him, and I'm gonna go flush it now. It won't bother you again, sir. I'm like,
man. My positive spin really was there is a success rate here where whether it's mental, whether it's actual, there is a light here that says you can get through this, whether it's with a medium, with drugs, with psychotherapy, with your own personal faith.
Do we really know if it's a success?
We don't really know, but if there's glaring
out of maybe
if there was a glaring epidemic problem where they fall victim of it, they lose out, the priest dies, everybody kills them, I think we would know about those.
Really? You think so? I'm not even sure about that. Honestly.
Well,
if this guy did it, who's the official Vatican guy, and he said that only 64 of what 30,000?
94 out of 30,000. were legit.
So then what happened with the other freaking 20-something thousand?
Well, like he said, like 90% is not exactly demonic possession, but more of a mental illness, and they just carry on the exorcism. So you can't strike it, oh, this is not an exorcism. They still perform the prayers.
They didn't perform 66 other exorcisms to beat him over the head and, and send him.
Well, I'm trying to put a positive spin in my personal belief now, interjected here.
No, I'm trying just to poke holes in your theory.
No, but my personal opinion is spirituality, whether it's rooted in an actual religion, yourself, metaphysics, science, any other religion you prescribe to, believe in thyself, as corny as this sounds. Believe in thyself and believe in thy spiritual self. You can ward off this. Just like you can invite it, just like it can take hold of you. Why doesn't it take hold of every single person? No, I think every day, just like a tumorous cancer cell, you're warding it off. You have a certain immunity, which is your core personal self. And I have to stay positive in that sense that the answer lies within you.
How about some would say that it's all bullshit and it's all bullshit?
It may very well be because, right, what is the natural inclination?
How can
this
you?
This is no diss on everybody. This is just reality. You believe what you see.
Yeah, but how can you tell who doesn't believe in God or religion or any of this that there's demons running around?
Exactly. And who's to say, and now we're getting very philosophical here, who's to say that the demonic possession is not manifesting himself all the time as in the movie The Exorcist, but in a badass CEO who doesn't care for the welfare of people and is making millions and millions of dollars in evil money, murdering, torturing, putting millions of people's health at risk. That's not a form of evil? Thank you. Thank you very much. To me, that's the most insidious form of evil because you're so proud and arrogant, and you're acting on the guise that you're helping people and their welfare. Meanwhile, you're an evil son of a bitch who's getting people hooked on drugs, who's getting people in bad states, who are getting people crippled and hitched onto a system, or demeaning people's self-esteem. That's evil.
100%.
You take an axe to my head, that may not be solely evil. That may actually be right in certain instances, but that may be just brutal. That could just be savagery. Not exactly purely evil, but to be sinister and plotting and controversies and covers up and manipulating young innocent souls, that shit's fucked up. You can't tell me things are not as demonic and twisted as that.
I think honestly, you want to get crazy. I think people should worry about real life, and the evil that men do is much, much worse.
Exactly what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying.
Whatever ghoul or whatever ghoul or creature can do to you.
I'm not going out on a limb because
it's definitely that,
I'm not going out on a limb because I've been on record by saying this and also being a victim of the COVID-19. If this shit turns out one day to be revealed, to be one sinister plot by pharmaceutical companies and big businesses and lobbyists who want to infringe on rights and privacy and tracking, and you name it. Okay, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but you know what I'm saying. If it gets revealed, how many lives have they taken physically, and how many mental disruptions have they taken a toll on every human being on this planet? What are they, 7 billion of us? Find me another crime as widespread affecting every human person. Short of taking a nuke and ending it all, that shit's straight up evil.
Okay.
And of course, there's going to be Hannibal Lecter and the serial killer type guys out
Off
there
the
that
tangent.
find their joys in torturing, murdering, pillaging, raping, molesting, and doing all sorts of unspeakable acts. That's not excused either. That's evil too.
Let's get off the tangent now. Get back to
Okay, I'm stepping off the soapbox. Thanks.
bottom line. Supposedly, there's two different types of spirits. You have your departed human spirit, and then you have your non-human spirit. Okay. Supposedly, either or can incur possession. The departed human spirits of humans that had died, that were thought to haunt the living. I guess your traditional ghosts, Your non-human spirits. Some cultures believe in spirits that have never been human, ergo demons or animals, And for example, we go back to the olden times, like you have serpent. Jeez, I'm sorry, I can't remember writing. Leviathan and Behemoth from Hebrew lore, and the serpent guy, which I can't read, but nonetheless, we can go on back and forth in this whole thing all day. Bottom line is that this whole thing, we don't know whether or not it's true or not. We know that crazy shit is going on. We see that people have been quote unquote possessed or whatever. Is it mental illness? Is it something deeper? Is it something sinister? Is it something, I don't know. Now, I'm not saying that the churches and the medicine men and everyone who commits exorcisms are wrong or they're lying to us. They probably truly believe all this stuff. Who am I to say that? But is it real? Is it effective? Is it legitimate? I don't know.
Well, what you just said, if I may feed off that, is basically on both sides of the seesaw. Boils down to belief, right? You believe in the dark, you believe in the light. Do you believe in both? As many religions and philosophies of the world, the Greek, Confucianism, Taoism, believe in that there is a balance. You cannot have darkness without light. And maybe it's super judgmental to think that all bad things happen in the dark, because a lot of evil shit happens in daylight too. So I guess the bottom line that I have to kind of filter into is the balance of good and bad, and that there are necessary evils, there are unnecessary evils, there are victims, there are collateral damage, there's people who do good things out of the kindness of their heart for not even a want of a thank you. So on the broad spectrum of all good things and evil, my bottom line is I do believe in a spiritual side. I do believe there is more than just the corporeal entities that we inhabit. And I do believe that there are, on both sides, credible angels and demons. I also believe that you yourself have the power to ward it off or embrace it. It's on you. I hate to get all Jedi on you, but the Force, it is completely on you to give yourself to the dark side or to embrace the Force and be one with the whole.
So then, in a nutshell, you believe in all this.
I believe in all this, and I leave one parting word of advice. Carry what you ask for. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Well, my personal stance is, I understand everything you're saying, and seeing all the evidence and reading everything. Look, I believe that there is a lot of stuff out there, and more often than not, I believe in pretty much everything. You know, and that's something basically in all the supernatural and all the paranormal and all that good stuff. I mean, because there's so many things that are unexplained that it would be foolish or foolhardy for me to freaking say that. Oh, no, it can't be. It can't be. There's no ghosts. There's no this. There's no that. That being said, I don't believe all the numbers that we've researched that have been given to us. I think they're holding something back. So,
you think more or less? You think there's a cover up about the number should be more, or you think that this is far in excess?
No, I think it's far in excess. I think that a lot of things. Hey, man, so how many years ago freaking people thought that they were witches that they will burn at the stake?
Agree.
Okay.
Point.
So
I agree with you in this sense. I think evil is more in your face than you think.
what's the word
that
all the ghouls and goblins and everything that can freaking, and yet there's people who like, not to get deeper because you want you to tangent yourself. That people
not to get on the tangent,
lie to your face, and they will do something even more terrible you can't even imagine, and they'll end up with a smile on their faces. And
yeah. Listen, a little bit playing off what you just said, and again, not to quote a movie here, but it seems like an appropriate quote.
Do it.
In The Devil's Advocate. The greatest trick that the devil did is to convince you that he doesn't exist. And so, we're rounding the same point. For people out there to just deny, but then they go shoplift, then they go push an old lady down and rob them, then they go commit insurance fraud, or then they go try to swindle somebody out of tons and tons of their life savings, or get a person hooked on drugs. It's the same shit, people. Yeah. It's the same shit. What goes around comes around. The universe.
You want to get freaking real deep, people say, drugs and alcohol is a form of possession. It opens the door to possession. How about that?
Yes. There's valid points all the way around. Again, comes back to the same thing. Be careful what you wish for. I truly believe out there, I'm telling you guys out there, all of Dead Air Nation and beyond, not to sound like a self-help book, you are in possession of your own direction in life. Yeah, you could be put in bad spots. Shit could happen to you that's really bad. But you are still in your possession to make choices and decisions. It's on you. It's on you, people. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not preaching. I'm not. I'm just saying. It's on you.
That was the beginning of the Rocco Rule. Stay tuned for more.
Stay safe, everybody. Save the whales and save your soul.
Yeah. If you guys like this episode, I know we a little long-winded. We kind of went over the place, but hope you enjoyed it. And if you do like it, we have much more planned, much more in store. So to continue the Bad Juju series, please like, subscribe, follow us on our social medias, listen to our podcast and everything. And I'm Izzy. That was Rocca.
Rocca, thanks for listening and making it happen all. Save the whales.
Save the whales, guys. Take care.